G'day traders, this is Brad with the guide to the week ahead. Now it's a pretty big week for the US dollar and there's a few other big releases out there as well as a couple of central banks. Now let's just have a look at last week's key themes. Now just to finish the week, strong Canadian employment numbers, saw dollar CAD drop to a 1 week high, or CAD go to 1 week high. Sterling still all over the place with that Brexit, but really dollar yen dominating, and a drop from sort of 113 or 114 down here to just under 108. You know, pretty critical. We saw Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, come out and sort of talk about you know, countries shouldn't come in and arbitrarily intervene in their currency, and that sort of really sent our last sort of 200-300 points. It's very weird for the politicians to get involved, but we'll see how this plays out. Now, with dollar yen giving us such a clear trade here, and it's, if you have missed the trend, this trend trade, then the break trade is what you should be looking for. And having a look, dollar yen itself, but also all the yen crosses: Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, Euro yen, Sterling yen. CAD yen, as you can see, is already gone, and that's to go with that rally in oil, as well as those strong Canadian numbers. It's already gone, but there's plenty of other currencies here that we can really get on this week. Okay, so coming back to the week, fine tune your major currency pairs. All right, this is the most important thing you need to do at the start of the week. So let's just go through these. The Aussie dollar, well, a bit of an odd week last week. No real change from the RBA, no change in rates. Still weak data, I think, dominating, but then we've also got a bit of, you know, US dollar to and fro. So at the moment, sideways. We do have some Chinese data out today. Have a look at that on Monday. CPI figures as well as some home loans data. But Thursday's numbers will be key there. Kiwi, pretty much just following the Aussie dollar. Now this is pretty common too. They correlate like 95% of the time. No Kiwi data, watch the Aussie, it'll just trace it. Now here's the main game, dollar yen. Okay, so we've got that yen appreciation. It's really hurting the Japanese economy. The officials don't like it. The MOF, the BOJ, everyone's talking about potential intervention. We'll have to see how that goes, but we do have some key US numbers out this week. Retail sales, CPI numbers should really give this thing a good shakedown. If we get some weakness in those numbers, or even some strength, it's going to be all over the place. So really good opportunities. Now just looking at Euro. Okay, Euro is stalling around 114, 113, 114. It doesn't really want to go higher because the European economic situation doesn't really warrant it. But a dollar weakness in the market, it was really one of those weeks where besides dollar yen, everything else was pretty much stayed pretty much where it was. In saying that, the pound here all over the place. Now it's trading about a good 300 or 400 point range, and that's with that Brexit concerns coming up. June 23rd is that referendum. I can't see sterling trading that normally until that's out of the way. Now dollar CAD, really clean trade to finish last Friday. I missed it. Had sort of already switched off for the week. Oil rallied a couple of bucks. We had some strong Canadian employment numbers. Every component that you need of a good trade was in this. And as you can see, it was a nice clean move to the downside. So really, with CAD and oil at the moment, you really want to keep a close eye on this, because it is paying dividends as we go through, watching those crude prices as well as the Canadian data. Now let's have a look at the high impacting data releases this week, which could really impact the currencies. Now tentatively booked in here, I've just got the Forex factory up here. There's a Fed announcement with regards to the discount rate. That's going to be pretty important to have a look at that and sort of see what they're going to come up with. Now let's come back to the individual currencies. Sterling, right? Tuesday GDP numbers, and then Thursday the Bank of Monetary Policy rate decision from the Bank of England. Sorry, and don't forget those the MPC vote count. That's pretty good too. Then as you come into like really looking at sort of Tuesday, US retail sales, and then Thursday the CPI numbers. Friday you got the University of Michigan consumer sentiment numbers. They're actually not a bad number. So really, we're going to have a really nice lead into the US dollar early in the week with those US retail sales numbers, and then Thursday with the CPI numbers there as well. It's very good. When you come into the second part of Wednesday, you're really looking at the Bank of Canada, see what they're going to come out with. No change in rates expected from the Bank of Canada, but you can always get something cheeky out of that statement. And also manufacturing sales on Friday. So this is where you're going to be sort of looking at your trading, changing your focus as these numbers come out, because they can give us a good lead in. Let's not forget the technical side of things, but these are your key releases for this week where we could see momentum shift. Now, just looking at the Asian session, okay, there are some sort of medium impacting numbers coming out on Monday, but at the most important part, Tuesday, China trade balance, that's been a big negative, and that could hopefully open the door for some good trading here in Asia. Aussie employment figures on Thursday, very important for the Aussie dollar. And then you've got those Chinese GDP figures out on Friday. So, you know, the whole focus of your week, not only for Asia, Europe and North America, changes with these various results. And the one key one, as I was saying, it's a very good big week for the US dollar. Keep an eye on those US retail sales. That should give us the lead in for the week and hopefully kick these majors off in a in one direction or the other. All we're looking for is, something to give us a lead in, whether it's continuation of the sideways trading or we see some weakness or strength in the dollar. So whipping through the Asian session, focus on the Aussie, Kiwi and Yen, of course, Europe, Euro, Sterling, Swiss, Euro, Sterling. And then you come into that North American session. Let's just have a look here. I mean, the dollar index, besides dollar yen, didn't really go anywhere last week. And the Dow as well, up and down, still trading around 17,900, around that 18,000 mark. It's still trading sideways as well. Dollar yen was the significant mover. That's the one we need to keep a very close focus on this week. And by all means, keep an eye on those equity markets. The equity markets are very important for directing the Nikkei as well. So make sure you are keeping an eye on the US equities, because that really sets a tone for the Asian session, and it really, especially around that Nikkei. So if we see a big negative day in the US equities, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Nikkei, and that's when we could see the BOJ, the MOF intervene. Now let's just have a look here. Just coming back to China, let's not forget about China. They are the next big story about their issues and economic concerns. We do have some CPI data and PPI data out Monday. Now that may be very important for the Aussie dollar and Kiwi in particular. Right, gives us a bit of a start to really to start the week with something sort of solid anyway. Now, as you go through the week and these various releases, keep an eye on the various news items. Okay, last week you would have seen a lot of things repeated because there wasn't too much out. This week we've got the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, we've got some really big US numbers, and we've got some chunky Chinese numbers there as well. So they're the key releases, but make sure you keep an eye on the whole market. Now let me bring back in the medium to lower tier numbers here into the calendar, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. Home loans, critical part of the market for Australia market at the moment. Chinese CPI, PPI on Monday as well. That Fed announcement is going to be pretty important, so let's just keep an eye on that on Monday as well. And then as you go through the day, UK CPI figures, then you roll into Wednesday, the Chinese trade balance could pop up with something sort of significant there. US retail sales Wednesday, Bank of Canada also there on Wednesday as well. And then you come back through into Thursday, the key focus will be the Aussie dollar in that Asian session with those employment numbers. And then as we go into Europe, the Bank of England rate decision and vote count. And then really importantly, that Thursday US CPI numbers. So that's the rolling week as far as those numbers go. There are some peripheral numbers there that could impact. As I was saying, keep a very close eye on your crosses. But I'd say most importantly, the yen crosses, that's where the action is going to be this week. Have a good one. We'll catch you later on.